We're going to be talking about the Duncanville Panthers. Have you heard of them before?
I think I have.
Yeah, I think they're in DFW, something like that.
They're usually a state championship contender?
Usually state championship contenders. They've always got a loaded roster. No introduction necessary.
More than double-digit prospects on every Duncanville team since Samples has been there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just loaded year in and year out, and this next upcoming season is going to be no different. So let's go ahead and start it all off. We're going to be talking about 2026 defensive end KJ Ford, and sure enough, he is rated as the best defensive end in the class of 2026 in our rankings. And with a 6'3", 246-pound frame, he actually started as a sophomore and kind of quickly became one of the most sought-after prospects, I would say, in the state of Texas. He collected 57 tackles, 7 sacks, and 16 tackles for a loss during his junior campaign. And he'll take official visits to Alabama May 30th, USC June 6th, Auburn June 10th, and Oklahoma June 20th.
Yeah, KJ Ford is a freak show, and the thing that really opened my eyes to his talent was when he got to display it on the national scale at the Under Armour All-America game. This guy has an instant first step. He is in the backfield in a flash, terrorizing quarterbacks and tackling running backs behind the line of scrimmage. As he gets bigger, stronger, and actually refines his technique at the next level, I think sky's the limit for Ford, who could be a true college football star. I look at his dad's a big dude. So I got to meet KJ and his dad. His dad's a big dude too. So just thinking about what KJ is going to grow into when he becomes like a full grown man, you know, in a college strength and conditioning program, that's going to make some defensive coordinators' eyes light up whenever they sign him to a letter of intent.
It seems like Duncanville always has a ton of defensive ends, D1 defensive ends. Colin Simmons, ring a bell, who's now at Texas. And there's also another one, Division I prospect at Duncanville, who's an edge rusher. And that's 2026 Landon Barnes. He's the 3rd overall edge rusher in the class of 2026. 6'4", 235 pounds. He collected 43 tackles, 6 sacks, and 12.5 tackles for a loss in his junior campaign. And the DCTF 4-star is considering offers from Baylor, SMU, Arizona State, LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, Washington, and more. And he had an official visit already with Arizona State and has one scheduled to Washington May 30th.
Well, I guess what? You have the number 1 defensive end on your team, and there's a player on your own team that has a contentious, you know what I mean? Like, if there's somebody that can contend with him being number 1, maybe it's Landon Barnes, who's a unique defensive end to me because he's so versatile. He's a guy who can stand up and pass rush off the edge. He can put his hand in the dirt. He can drop back in coverage like a traditional linebacker, and he pursues well out to the flat. So Landon Barnes brings the total package, and he's a new age style of college football player that can fit into any defensive scheme, and that's why you've seen his recruitment take off.
And I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but Landon and KJ both took an unofficial to Ohio State this past weekend, or maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. But they took a picture together, and Coach Lavender, who's the offensive coordinator at Duncanville, tweeted, "This could be a scary duo." And I was like, it feels right that they go to the same college, you know, because why break them apart? They're so lethal.
And they fit in well within any defensive scheme together. Right. Like, their skills complement one another. I see them playing on, most of the time, opposite edges in Duncanville, but I can definitely see a college scenario where they're lined up right next.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Let's move on to Zachary Turner, 2026 tight end. We've got him rated as the 2nd overall tight end in the state of Texas. I'm kind of noticing a trend here. All of these guys are in our top rankings. Like we said, he's 6'2", 215 pounds, kind of a hybrid tight end, wide receiver jumbo flex type of player. Collected 58 receptions for 933 yards and 16 touchdowns, and has official visits scheduled with SMU, Florida State, and Miami in Florida.
Not over 900 yards in a Duncanville offense. That's a career for some guys. And Zachary Turner put up amazing stats last year. You kind of hit the nail on the head. He is that hybrid wide receiver tight end. When he first burst onto the scene as a freshman, you thought for sure he was going to grow into a tight end because he was already 6'2", 6'3", 215 pounds. Well, he's grown to be one of the most physically imposing players in the entire state, but he's still around 6'3" in that 220, 225 pound range. So I do feel like it's not fair to categorize him strictly as a tight end because he's a wide receiver weapon as well. And I think even when he gets into college that he'll be utilized in that way. He's not really a player that you can put a tag on, right? I mean, you could put him as an athlete, but he's going to be a receiver. So we've rated him as a tight end. But I think that, he could easily just be rated as a receiver. He brings that skill set to the table.
Right. Moving on down the list here, let's talk about 2026 cornerback Brilan Edwards. He's rated as the second overall cornerback in the state of Texas. Another one that is on the top of our list from Duncanville. No shocker there. 6'1", 185, totaled 43 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 7 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery, and already has a couple of official visits scheduled to Utah, Arkansas, Wisconsin, and Auburn.
Over 40 scholarship offers for Brilan Edwards. He's one of my favorite sleepers in this class. College football is trending more towards a jumbo corner style, right? And you want these big-bodied cornerbacks who are also able to flip their hips and stay in coverage with these powerhouse wide receivers. Well, Brilan Edwards is that dude, and I'm surprised that he's not rated higher on some of the national lists as well. So I think he can bring a lot to any defense. He's got versatility because of his size. He could play safety. But with the way the game is trending right now, I think he's a lockdown corner, and you can put him on an island, and you can really depend on him. I think he proved a point when he jumped to Duncanville. He transferred up to play at the 6A level prior to the start of last season, and he immediately came into practice and let everybody know that he was a dude. And then he earned a starting role in one of the most loaded secondaries, not only in the state, but in probably the best secondary in the country. And he earned a starting role there. And that tells me he's competitive. And I love that. I love that in his projection. It's
called betting on yourself and winning.
Yeah, there you go.
It's awesome. Moving on, wide receiver Trenton Yansy, who is a transfer from Arlington Lamar. Transferred last year, played his first year at Duncanville last season. Could potentially be the number 1 wide receiver in the class of 2027. A potential 5-star. I'd say. He's 5'10", 180, caught 30 passes for 450 yards and 7 touchdowns, averaging 15 yards a catch for Duncanville in 2024. That's pretty good. And already holds 37 FBS offers, of course, from all the big-time programs.
Yeah, Trenton Yancey is the guy that I think that Panthers fans can look at to fill the shoes of Decorian Moore, right? Whenever you lose Decorian Moore off your team, that's going to be tough to replace. Well, we've rattled off 3 wide receiver names now on this list, and each one can make the case of why there's something different and why they're better than their own teammate, because they all have interesting qualities. And Yancey is the true outside receiver of the bunch, the most natural fit there to be a wideout, a guy that can be that number 1 guy to run the intermediate routes, but also stretch the defense vertically. And I look to him to step into that spot as being a field stretcher for Duncanville this year. It's nice to have Theus and Turner too, right? Take some of the pressure off. But I do feel like Yancey can be that marquee national level name. And I will have to do the rankings, and I do think that he's in the mix to be a top 5 receiver in that class.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to round it out, we'll stay on the offensive side of the ball and in the class of 2027, and we'll talk about offensive tackle, Aiden Williams. 6'4", 260 pounds, started as a freshman for Duncanville and helped lead them to the 6A Division I title in 2023. Big dude.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Aiden Williams, I think, is the name that everybody's going to know about here in a couple of months, right? Because they're going to have to hit the reset button up front with a couple of guys. Well, Aiden Williams, he burst onto my radar when he was a freshman. You should have seen this dude's sub-varsity film. He was unbelievable. He was just completely mauling dudes. They called him up to the varsity team towards the end of his freshman season, and he got some spot play, a little bit of work, his freshman year, easing into it more as a sophomore last season. This is going to be his breakout year. So this is the name, I think, if you're looking as a Duncanville guy that you're going to be, everybody's going to know next year, and you don't really know that name yet, Aiden Williams is the name that you need to lock onto your radar. That 2027 class at Duncanville, people are sleeping on it a little bit because there's some dudes on there that nobody's talking about yet. Williams being one of them, Max Denson being another, and there are a couple of dudes over there with the last name of Barnes who everybody needs to keep an eye out for too, because as soon as the deck clears with some of these guys moving on to college, they got next up.
I saw a video of Aiden Williams. It was from, I think, 2023 state championship game or something, and he was signing a hat or something to somebody in the crowd, and boy, howdy, did he pass the eyeball test. He was massive as a freshman, so I'm excited to see his potential and his growth here up in the next coming years at Duncanville.